Hey there, my name's Ryan. I'm a guitar teacher and player, and I've been spending the last year and a half of trying to learn the Barry Harris six diminished concepts, reharmonization, putting movement into your chords. Obviously, if you're here, you kind of know what we're trying to do. I've just come up with a almost Barry Harris for Dummies approach, like a little roadmap that expressly teaches you how to start and you grow it. Um, Music's a language, um, and I think a lot of videos, according to my students and myself, there's assumptions on what you know when you start a video, and everything's fine up until you reach a point where you don't know what the guy said, and then you're off the rails for the rest of the video. So I'm going to be upfront and say that you need to know your roots on your fifth and sixth string. So right off the bat, like if you wanted to play G7, there's your G. You can play that G Dom 7, or maybe this is more familiar. So that's your fifth, that's your sixth string root. And then your sixth string root, you might know this shape, or you might know this bar shape. So you need to know what roots mean. Roots is the coordinate or the letter name of the chord that you're trying to strike. And you need to know them on the fifth and sixth string. So if we know that, we're good to go with the rest of this. A lot of what I'm teaching here isn't, we don't really, I'm not shooting for great understanding. Like when somebody says the word quesadilla to me, it's not an English word, but I know what it means. I don't have to think it. Oh, this is a a tortilla with chicken and cheese and whatever. I just know. So that's the goal of this entire series, is to try to get it lean and clean, and just where you just kind of know what it is without having to make these translations. If you've gone deeper into the Barry Harris stuff, you know that there's a lot of playing the minor six on the fifth of the chord that you're trying to target, or if you're playing a minor seven, you're trying to get a minor third up to get the major six, and I was like, how are you supposed to translate that stuff in real time when you're playing? And I found some shortcuts that I really haven't seen anybody else teaching. So normally I'm just a leech and I take off the internet. I've decided to give a little bit back because I've been teaching this to my students and teaching it myself, and I just think it's a really much quicker way of showing it. So dominant sevens, we're just going to start there. We're going to work up in resolution. So a low resolution is just going to be our first target goal. We're going to look at the dominant sevens as inversions, meaning that you can see the red dot. Each one of those is the root of what we're targeting for. And I'm going to show you this next graphic here. This is what I'm calling the leaning root. This is leaning back to what you already know. Like when you were a kid and you first started to learn how to swim in the deep end, you always kept the edge of the pool close so you can reach over and grab onto it. So this is kind of the same concept. Now you could see we have two fifth string roots and we have two sixth string roots. We'll start with the very first image there, which is just going to be, that's a C7, C dominant 7, and you can see that green root that's hanging out next to that, that more familiar chord that we've got. This next one, there's your root. So you kind of like looking back to what you already know. The next one is going to be hopefully the easiest one, because you got this C root on the sixth. Either this shape or you're used to this one. And there's your version that I'm showing you. And the other one, the last one, is just like a fourth string root, which you might already be familiar with. So you can tie these together. And we'll get into the diminished chord in between and stuff like that. But for the beginning, we just want to get comfortable floating back and forth between these shapes. Yeah. So the leaning root, that's what I'm calling it. Okay. You can see these shapes on the full board. Now you want to keep in mind that these shapes always have their spatial relationship to one another, but as you go up over the 12th fret, you're coming back around. So these chords are not static, they move, but their relationship to one another is static. Say that again. these chords move in order to get the tonality that they need, the root that they need, but their distance from one another remains the same. So that's the full board. And, well, what do we do with this? Well, I said, we're just trying to get this part down. If we get this part down, the rest of it grows. And and it's a really great system if you stick with it. So what I do is I do we don't do that. I'm not a YouTube guy. I'll just let you know. There's a lot of great resources out there on the internet. I know I use them. If we look at this guy, guitar improvisation, he's got some great charts and stuff. But we want to look for a static dominant 7 track. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to locate where A7 is. Well, we know that's 5th fret 6th string. So I look at what I look for is, probably the most recognizable one is going to be the 3rd one in. So you start there. You've got that started there. I'm going to go ahead and play this. Let's go. I'm on the third shape. 4th shape. 1st shape. And then I'm going to have to jump down here. I don't have to. I could go up. I always like to start with the lowest at. So you get a good handle on how to move between those 4 inversions of a dominant chord, right? We just do that over and over again against a static jam track or whatever you can find, or if you got a loop pedal, you can put a loop down with a dominant chord and just play around with those. There is a diminished chord in between each one of them in the Barry Harris method. We're not going to really do that right now because honestly, we don't need to explain the burrito. We got it. You could see down the bottom of this graphic, there's the diminished chord on that same 4-string grouping. Now, the interesting thing about this is that whenever you lower any one of those notes, it becomes one of those shapes above it, right? And whatever note you're lowering is the root. So I can go from let's get a bigger. That's now an E dominant 7. I lower this one. That's now a G dominant 7. So it's pretty cool. Again, we don't really have to understand that right now. That's what's so cool about this. So just practice this part, and I'm going to show you how easily connected to the 6 on the 5th method that Barry Harris is talking about. But the first thing we got to do is just get these dominant 7s down, and then I'll do another video where we're flashing between minor 6th and dominant 7s. The next step, the next higher resolution that you could do is moving up your resolution. Oops. Okay. To something like this. Let me pause that. Okay. I don't want to stop that. Okay, and so you can see that this is just like, again, it's the same guy. He's awesome. I hope I don't get I'm not doing this for money. So I think his stuff's great. But we can move that same concept with those 4 dominant 7s and play them in like different zones and flashing up and down the keyboard, or the fretboard. So it's just not as boring or static as playing those 5th and 6th string roots. So. So what we did was we took it from that 1 chord resolution, and then we just started discovering the roots. The way I look at it is if we've got a 1 and a 4, once we know the 1 and the 4, well, the 5 is only flashing once in this particular arrangement, so we just go up a whole step from that 4. So start there, work your way up, and then we'll get into some higher resolution stuff like this. And I'm going to stop that. where we can have some different tonalities. We can get some minors and some half diminished, and it gets cool quick. So stick with it. Thank you for watching, and ask any questions in the comments.